Hello and welcome to another edition of Planet Waves TV. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, your friendly neighborhood astrologer reporting in from Kingston, New York, here to tell you about the awesomely exciting astrology of the week that is coming up. The big news is that there's something happening called a Mercury transit of the Sun. That takes place on Monday at 11:12 a.m. Eastern Time. That would be in the evening in England and a little bit later in the evening in Europe, and then in the morning in California. A Mercury transit of the Sun happens when Mercury passes between the Sun and the Earth, which it is doing now because Mercury is retrograde. Now, you may remember back in early 2012, actually June 2012, I think June 8th or 9th, there was something called the Venus transit of the Sun. And that was exciting because Venus went past the Sun. It kind of walked past the surface of the Sun. And unlike a normal Venus-Sun conjunction, you could actually see Venus. If you had clear skies and the right viewing equipment, you could actually watch the planet Venus walk across the surface of the Sun. I saw this back in 2004 when I was in England. Everything lined up perfectly. I went to Avebury Henge and there it was. Now we're having this with another one of the inner planets. There's really four inner planets: Mars, Earth, Mercury, and Venus. And at the moment, Mercury is retrograde, and it is passing between the Earth and the Sun. That is what Mercury retrograde means. It means it is going by. So first I want to show you how this looks in an astrology chart. And then we're going to translate that into something a little bit less technical, a little more visceral, so you can actually get the sense. We're going to look at this from three viewpoints and then use our imagination for the fourth viewpoint. So here's the Sun. Here's Mercury. And you see they have the same number. That means that they are in a conjunction. Make sure my lavalier mic is working. I've graduated to pro video gear, and we'll see how that works out. All right, so that means they're in a conjunction. 19 and 25, that conjunction happens to be at 19 degrees and 25 minutes of Taurus. Hard to believe we're getting that far into the Sun's transit through the sign Taurus, but we are. So they're in an alignment. And in an astrology chart, the Earth is here in the middle. And so in reality, Mercury is like right here passing by. But in an astrology chart, we represent it in a kind of a schematic, and you're supposed to know that Mercury is closer in and all that stuff. So this is called the interior conjunction. It marks the midpoint, the halfway point of Mercury retrograde, right? So you know that Mercury retrograde is half over when you get the conjunction of the Sun and Mercury during the Mercury retrograde. And that is exactly what is happening. Now, I've made a different diagram, one a little bit less technical, so that you can see what this looks like from a less geeky standpoint. This is the Earth. How do you do this? I'm still learning how to do this. Okay, this is the Earth up here. Come on, everyone, get out of the frame. Here's the Earth. Here's the Sun. That's a star. Those are sunspots. I added the sunspots. And that's little Mercury going by. So the way this works is the Earth goes around the Sun once a year. There are 3 Mercury years for every Earth year. So Mercury is kind of whipping around the Sun, and the Earth is just kind of going by slower. And when Mercury catches up with the Earth rather, and gets in between the Earth and the Sun, that's what creates this illusion of Mercury retrograde, and appears to be going backwards in the chart. It is not really going backwards. It's all relative. It's kind of like when you have one train next to you and that train's going a little bit faster than yours, you can have the feeling that your train is going backwards. It's a similar kind of optical phenomenon. But what is not optical or merely conceptual is that Mercury is near us. It is as near as it gets when Mercury is retrograde. So there, so kind of let that sit in your mind for a second. And now let's take a look back at this. And I'm going to tell you what I think this all means, because I'm not really an earth science teacher. I am really an astrologer, though I have fantasies of going into classrooms and teaching this. All right, so there's how that looks in an astrology chart. So remember, when you see, let's put these side by side, and I have to be careful here in honor of my friend Jonathan Kaner. I'm living dangerously and using wet paint. I've just painted this about 10 minutes ago, so that paint is actually still wet. So what actually more realistically looks like this shows up looking like that. I only have one hand free, the ones with the 19 next to them. Okay, so you can see how this chart is a kind of a schematic representation of something that would more kind of illustratively look like that. But now let's take it one step further. Usually when, now we have to think of this on a three-dimensional axis. When Mercury goes past the Earth, it usually is a little higher or lower than the Sun, right? It's a conjunction, but it's not aligning on both the horizontal and the vertical axis, only aligning on the horizontal axis. Because if Mercury is too low, it's going to seem to pass below the Sun. If it's too high, it's going to pass above the Sun, right? Okay, now here's the thing that's special about what's happening on Monday at 11:12. Mercury is going to go right past the Sun. It's going to walk right across the surface. It's probably going to take about an hour, and you could see this if you want. If it is anywhere where it is daytime when this is happening, particularly close to noon, check your local area. Check, there could be science museums. There could be lapel microphone. There might be an observatory. There might be a university. Call up the astronomy department at the nearest university, and you may actually get a chance to see this. And it is amazing to see it, because it's an experience that takes you out of the kind of geocentric world that we tend to live in and gives you a concept that we really are in space. And so this was the last Mercury transit of the Sun. That was on November 8th, 2006. That means it's in Taurus. When something happens to the Sun in November, it happens in Scorpio, happens with the Sun in Scorpio. Now it's happening in Taurus. So that means that there's some kind of a node of Mercury running across Scorpio and Taurus, and now we're getting to experience that again, where this very thing is going to happen on Monday. So what we get is a rare, super exact conjunction of the Sun and Mercury. Now there's 6 Mercury-Sun conjunctions every year, right? And there's three of those are when the Earth passes, when Mercury passes in between the Sun and the Earth, and the other 3 are when it's back around the other side of the Sun. But this is a kind of thing that hasn't happened in 10 years. So that makes it exceptionally rare, exceptionally focused, and that gives us something. When things that are rare happen in astrology, that is a cue to the astrologer that there is something rare going on in the human realm, and in the human realm really means within our kind of psychological environment, our sensorium, within our experience. And so that's the setup, basically, is that we think, okay, something rare. Now, what are the symbols involved? That's something, it's getting awfully bright in here. That's something rare. Okay, I'm watching my face turn posterized. That's something rare is likely to involve whatever it is that Mercury represents in the first place. Mercury represents a lot more than communication, though it does represent communication. It represents all these nifty devices like pencils and iPhones and all that stuff, and these beautiful little headset telephones that are so. We live in this age of kind of uber Mercury fun, because there's fantastic devices. Everyone is by extension some kind of a geek, basically, because we have all these toys to play with. My favorite are things like this, though. All right, so we have the Mercury realm, but Mercury represents more than communication devices. Mercury really is the kind of alchemical activation of the mind. It's about ideas. Mercury is about the message. It is about the theme of our life. But on the deepest level, when you feel Mercury, it almost feels like some kind of a catalytic reaction that transforms things in some way, and then it may result in some kind of a message. I mean, like, I'm looking at this, I look at this and push the button and start yakking to you on YouTube, and we have a kind of a logical special occasion. Imagine that on a much bigger scale. Now, this is happening in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of matter. It's the sign of material substance. It's the sign of feelings. And it is the sign that has a lot to do with the body. It is all that we possess. And one of the most important things we possess in our lifetime is we're taking a little ride on our body, and then it represents, by extension, it represents the stuff around us that we use to take care of our body, and things that we like, objects that we value. You know, I like my little decks of playing cards and all other kinds of cards. That is a Taurian thing. Taurus represents the stuff that you have, that you value and that you care about, and also the tools of your trade, and the things that help you get through the day, and the things that bring you some form of physical comfort or belonging, right? And we live in a very stuff-oriented environment. But on a deeper level, Taurus is about the stuff that the stuff is made of. It is a kind of a compositional material. Imagine it like a pile of clay, and you can like sculpt anything you want out of that clay. And then comes along Mercury, which is this actuating element. It gives you the chance to use your mind and to use your kind of power of shaping and power of discretion to do something with that substance, right? So this is a lapel mic, making sure I have one of those little monitors and you can't see. That's because it's one of those little monitors made for TV. So what this is to me is where mind meets substance, only it is a very close meeting. It is as if mind gets to rewrite substance in some way. And you might ask yourself what that is. You might ask yourself what it is you want to invent, or you want to change, or you want to create, because you get a bit of extra potency in doing that. The decisions you make, the choices you make, the encounters that you have, your idea for how to use things, your idea for how to apply a substance to a problem, for how to take something and convert it into something else. All of these are now what you might think of as being quickened. The clay is easier to sculpt. The paint is soft and malleable and flexible in your hands. And you get to do more with this. And you can think of this on many different levels. For example, how to use the money that you have, how to use the resources that you have. I am big on think of money and think of resources. And so resources generally are what is embraced by Taurus. Most people would say, oh, well, it's money, but then there's resources like your time. There's resources like the stuff that you have that you make things with. There's resources like your talent. That's a very, very important resource. And most people, I have learned, do not really think in terms of their talent. Most people are thinking in terms of, well, I can do that and I can do that. And I'm suggesting you think in terms of your talent rather than just, what you sort of can do. And so you might actually contemplate what your actual talent is, and that is often hooked into what you're willing to work with, what you're willing to do on a regular basis, so that you can shape yourself into the person that you want to be. And so we could ponder all these kind of mind meets matter equations and use your imagination. And one thing I've done is in the horoscope that I've just submitted to the editors of Planet Waves and publications where I write for, is I have interpreted this chart, this chart, which actually is a whole wheel, 12 different ways. That's what a horoscope column is. So I've done readings for this, and they're available to subscribers of Planet Waves. It's one of the things you get, is you get my mind working for you on this stuff and interpreting and kind of designing a mental scheme for what this can be. And so there are many metaphors for calling forth your ability to shape and to create, to change your mind, to rearrange your space, for how to really understand what it means to feel safe, for how to think of a way to set a goal. For example, for Leo, there's a lot here about setting goals and how you do that, and how you might overcome a slight sense of awkwardness to do that, because Mercury, after all, is retrograde. Mars, after all, is retrograde. This event trumps Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. The normal rules of those transits are more like things that now get suspended in the presence of some much greater force of creativity, some much greater force of nature that you get to experience. Now, we look at these things as celestial events, or we look at them as divinatory things where we can read the chart, or we think of them in some way that is spatial, but what they all have in common is they appear to be happening outside themselves. The key to using astrology is to think of this thing happening inside you, to think of it as being an aspect of your consciousness, because what astrology really is describing is the shape of consciousness. It is there's really no better way to say it. And when you read astrology, rather than reading it as something that's happening outside yourself, read it as something that is happening to you and that is happening in you. This is the whole key. It is calling in the projection. So we have convenient diagrams, we have things that give us hints and that give us clues. So what do you do with Monday? Well, you hang out and you pay attention and you observe the things that are changing. You observe what happens. You pay attention. It's going to be active all weekend as well, in case you're watching this prior to. If you're watching it after Monday, same basic deal. Because it's an event that happens every 10 years, it will certainly ripple out in time for a couple of weeks. Today, by the way, I'm recording on Friday, is the day of the new moon. The new moon event is closely related to this. And by the way, one of the ways to think of a Mercury transit of the sun is a little bit like an eclipse, because Mercury, were it bigger, would be eclipsing the sun. And so a normal new moon is one thing, and a solar eclipse is another thing. And this is on a scale like a solar eclipse, only it happens much less often than a solar eclipse. This is, for our purposes today, a 10-year event. And I haven't calculated when the next one's going to be. There is a Wikipedia page that tells us, but we have one happening now, and it is beautiful that it is happening now, and is giving us indicating a chance to rethink, reconceptualize, reimagine, reallocate, contemplate, rethink the problem, rethink what you would do if you could do anything, rethink your concept of needs, and more than anything with Taurus, rethink the value of what you have, what you already have, and how you would apply that to the questions that you see. And then try to think bigger. Imagine greater potential. Imagine this having influence in not only in a wider world, but connecting you directly to that wider world. Pay attention under astrology like this. I mentioned Planet Waves memberships. We are inviting you more boldly to get out your credit card and send some money into Planet Waves. In exchange, get wonderful things that we do, more of those wonderful things, and also the feeling that you are contributing something. It is a great feeling. I don't know how other people like to spend their money. Personally, I take advantage of things like PBS and NPR and Democracy Now! And I like to make sure I'm contributing to these things that I'm benefiting from every single day. If you benefit from Planet Waves, that's why to be a member. If you join us on the core community level, we have these delightfully beautiful little journal books. They are in 4 different colors. I've chosen purple because everyone loves purple. I have them in red, black, blue, and purple. The lining is a little bit different in each one of them, but it's this sort of like college ruled. I couldn't find these in blank, so you get these with ruled, and if you believe in Ray Bradbury, turn the paper sideways. Okay, but for those who want something a little bit more, for our Backstage Pass membership, I have been becoming a little bit of a painter, and I've been experimenting because I couldn't find any of these books I was satisfied with. So I thought, well, why don't I just start don't make my own. I use things that I've got. So there are these. I have these small-sized ones here they're blank. And they are nice high quality books. I've only gotten high quality stuff. These are a bit smaller. And then I have this. This is my favorite size. This is a square. This is acid free. And the painting and the texture in them are different on every single one. They're all different. Acid free again, unlined, nice binding, beautiful binding. And then I've got some of these, this style, where it's spiral bound, different designs on them. This is blank. I have some that are lined. I've done some painting on some of the inside covers as well. And the idea is to send you a sketchbook that you're not afraid to mess up, that comes kind of pre-inscribed, pre-inspired, pre-messed up with my paint spatters on it, and then you can just sort of like dig into it and make it into your own thing. They have these not like made perfectly. They're just intended to be fun. This is a slightly larger size. So this is for Backstage Pass membership. It's about $125 per quarter. For that, you get most of the readings I do. For example, the Taurus birthday reading that I'm going to do on Monday, and then you get 12 of those. You get the mid-year reading, and you get the spring reading. It's awesome. It is a lot of astrology for very little money. Call us up if you want to order by phone. Area code 206-567-4455. Again, 206. That's the Seattle area code. We used to be out there. 567-4455. That's an easy phone number to remember. 567-4455. Amy will answer the phone, and I'm open to doing custom paint jobs on these things. So if you have a color you want them in, if you have something in mind, you want me to paint your astrological sign, call up Amy and she'll take your order, and it'll be made right there in my painting studio in my living room. All right, that's all I have to say for you for now. Email me if you want, efc@ericfrancis.com. I will probably write back to you. If I don't, email me again in 24 hours. I just might have missed it. And in addition, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out planetwaves.fm for lots of audio presentations in my other incarnation as radio guy. Today, I am video guy, YouTube guy, your YouTube person sitting there watching, clicking on, mousing, and watching on your little gadget where I mysteriously appear. Let's see if I can line that up in the mirror. Ah, there I am, right there in your iPhone. All right, thanks for watching. Great fun as ever. Bye for now.